no news conferences for Harris, no sit-down interviews. The questions, the coverage hasn't been tough enough.
Tom?
Yeah.
She's doing interviews with content creators today instead
right.
of,
So let's call it the Harris honeymoon, right? When does the Harris honeymoon end? Because at some point she's going to have to sit down. She's going to have to do a serious interview. She's going to have to go unscripted, maybe even a full news conference, but it has to happen.
Oh, absolutely has to happen. And, we're starting to see her talk to reporters. Like yesterday, she spoke to some reporters in Pittsburgh, and they asked her, how are you going to pay for your economic plan, right? And she didn't really make a lot of sense. She just kept saying over and over again, it would be a return on investment. It would be a return on investment.
Yeah.
She said it 4 times over a, 30, 60 second, and it just wasn't very strong. You could tell she's a little rusty when she's not on her teleprompter, and she hasn't always done well in the past when in a one-on-one, when you saw what happened with your colleague Lester Holt. And so I think that this is actually a disservice to her. They're really building this up to be a very momentous moment when she finally sits down with a network anchor, and she could make one wrong move, and that's the entire news cycle.
Talk to me about it.
This drives me nuts how many political strategists are their own worst enemy. They always want to limit. Look, I think this is what, if Biden is angry that he does not, this isn't his convention, you should blame everybody around him. You could have set the country up over the last 3 years to get used to Grandpa Joe if they let Grandpa Joe out there all the time. And look, over time, people got used.
The debate was a shocker for people.
Right, because they hadn't seen any version of it. But maybe if they had seen it, there would have been more tolerance for it. And you do exactly what Tara said. They are making it so that the first interview she does
will be so much pressure.
Becomes a huge pressure. I'm not as convinced they're going to do the big sit down with Chuck, a traditional network. I think you'll see them with more what I would call allied media.
Right.
And I think that's more likely.
And that's what Joe Biden did, yeah.
And that's what Donald Trump does. He's not going to unfriendly places anymore.
Look, all right, guys, so we got to talk about this pretty telling exchange between Bill Maher and what appears to be Democrat supporting liberal Hollywood actor Quentin Tarantino, who's also a director as well, too. They're going to talk about Kamala Harris avoiding doing interviews with the mainstream liberal media, okay? And we've talked about this quite a bit. At this point, she kind of doesn't need to do interviews because the liberal media is defending her, right? They're doing her job for her. But there are smart people with 2 brain cells to rub together that can see that, hey, something's wrong here, right? The fact that Kamala Harris isn't doing interviews really tells you a lot about how confident she is in her own abilities, okay, and her policies in and of themselves, which probably are not very popular once she starts to really talk about them. People are going to get turned off by her in the way that she presents herself. Now, this is something that Bill Maher is going to discuss with this Hollywood actor, and their response kind of tells you everything you need to know about the modern day left and how Trump deranged they are. I mean, Trump derangement has completely taken over the party to the point where they will quite literally vote for anybody as long as they're not Trump. And that is a very dangerous thing. And this is a dangerous hive mind mentality that has taken over the left. And you can see that in full view here in this interview. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
But the bigger issue is the left and their ability or their desire to engage with anyone who's not already in the bubble. And they get a big fat D- on that.
I couldn't agree more.
Right. I mean, you see Kamala. I mean, I'm glad she's doing well. I'm glad we have a real fight now for president. But doesn't talk to the press, would never go near me. And when you won't go near the people who are going to vote for you, I'm going to vote for you. Do I have to love everything? No, I don't. It just shows they're afraid. And you're right. I see it so much.
Well, hold on. I don't.
Well, here's the problem, Bill. And again, this is the problem with these liberals. They don't really understand how this works. Okay, and that's what's so frustrating to me about these guys like a Bill Maher or a Stephen A. Smith. I would throw Charlamagne the God in there, but I don't think he's nearly as intelligent as Bill Maher or even Stephen A. Smith, who is not as intelligent as Bill Maher. But somebody like Bill Maher, it's like, bro, you should be smart enough to understand that the reason why she doesn't feel the need to go near somebody like you, who is going to be very friendly towards her, for the most part. Now, on certain issues, maybe the social issues, he might not be. But the reason why is because you are already saying 1,000 times, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. But why are you voting for her if you don't even know what she believes, right? One of the things about Bill Maher that he likes to complain about a lot on the left is how far left they have gotten on issues like gender, race, etc. And Kamala Harris is a representation of the far left progressive social agenda, right? She's the DEI queen. She's basically a deity at this point when it comes to the woke agenda, right? But the reason why she doesn't feel the need to do any of these interviews or to go on your show is because you're already telling her, yeah, I'm gonna vote for you, right? Even though you won't tell me what you believe, okay? I'm gonna vote for you anyways because you're not Trump. That is why she doesn't feel the need to do any interviews. And until these people realize that, hey, we should stop being propagandists for Kamala Harris, then she's never going to do any interviews. But they don't really care because ultimately for them, it's about beating Trump.
Okay, you know what? I don't see her. Well, there's no reason for her to go on your show before the election, but I can actually see her.
Yes, there is. Because I speak to the exact voter she needs, the person who is in the middle, the person who is not ideologically captured by either side. Now, there are some who watch who are that, and everyone is welcome. I need a bigger audience all the time. I'm greedy that way. But basically, that's exactly the audience she needs. The MSNBC crowd is already voting for her. People who watch me, who will decide, this election will probably be decided in like 4 states by something like 80,000 votes in each. That's how these elections, how close they are these days. And that's where we're back to. We're at least back to normal, which sucked, but it is normal that it's 50-50 going into the election. With Biden, it wouldn't have been.
Let me ask you about this, though. Okay, look, there's nothing you said that isn't right. All right. And there's definitely nothing you said that isn't right in a normal election cycle. I mean, it's irrefutably right in a normal election cycle where you have a year to set your case. I think they're just all about winning the election, all right? And then the easiest path to winning the election, look, you can talk about maybe she should have had more guts about this or that and the other, but we're the president.
Right.
And Trump's not the president, and we're the president, and now it's going to be about this. But this is about winning. What most people don't give the Democrats enough credit for, all right, but we give the Republicans credit for, it's like, no, sometimes it's just about winning. And it doesn't matter how we look at this moment. It's about winning.
Right.
This is about winning.
Well, see, again, here's the problem. In a normal election, she would not be allowed to win doing what she's doing right now because the media will be destroying her left and right. Every single day, they will be calling her a coward and saying, where's Kamala Harris? Why is she hiding, right? Hiding Harris, okay? That will be her name. But because, again, this is not a normal election cycle because, again, these people think that Trump is an excuse for them to do anything, right? Including overthrow democracy within their own party, right? To stage a coup against the sitting president of the United States after he won their primary, after he got voted for. Yeah, they think all this stuff is justified because, oh, well, we got to beat Trump, right? So, again, if that's the mentality, what else would they justify in the name of beating Trump, right? Well, we've already seen it before, right? I mean, these people will try to take away free speech, right? They will try to ban speech in the name of defeating Trump, right? So we know what they're willing to do. But again, it's the fact that you have these individuals, people on the left who don't care. You do not care about what your candidate believes. That to me is the problem. This is the biggest issue in this country. Liberals not thinking, right? Which could be the reason why they're liberal, right? They're not using their brains. Because if they use their brains, then hey, they would say, you know what? Listen, we're not giving you our vote. Okay? You can't disrespect us like that and think that you could just come out here and say, I'm not Trump, and we're going to line up and vote for you. No. Because again, if you're a liberal using your brain, you should understand that, yeah, the world didn't fall apart under Trump. The economy was actually pretty great under Trump. I was actually doing very well. I could buy a house. Okay? Interest rates were lower. The border was more secure. Okay? This country was not involved in a bunch of foreign wars, right? Things were much better under Trump. I might not like the guy personally, but it wasn't the end of the world. So why am I guaranteeing my vote to somebody and I don't know what they want to do? They don't feel like they respect me enough to actually talk to me and tell me, hey, this is how I'm going to make your life better. Here are my policies. And again, somebody like Kamala Harris, it's especially important because this is not a Joe Manchin, right, type Democrat, right? This is not a blue dog Democrat. I'm not even sure if those actually really exist anymore. What I really mean is that this is not like a truly like centrist Democrat, which in modern terms really is just liberal, right? Joe Manchin is just liberal. He's not a centrist. He's just a liberal, right? That's not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a communist, right? And I think that it is fair that a communist needs to answer questions for what do you want to do? Because even if you are a liberal, you should not be okay with communism, right? When Kamala Harris comes out here and talks about Medicare for all, abolishing private insurance altogether, okay, having the government control that whole market, that is communism, okay? That's far beyond socialism. A public option is socialism, right? The public option, at the very least, is like, okay, well, the government, they have most of the market share, but you still have, private players or whatever. That's socialism, right? Kamala wants to go beyond that. She wants to go into communist territory, okay? She should answer questions about that. She wants to implement price controls. She should answer questions about that. These are things that if you are an actual liberal, you should be concerned about, right? When Kamala talks about decriminalizing illegal immigrants crossing the border, coming into the country illegally, liberals should have a problem with that. Liberals should have a problem with Kamala Harris talking about giving illegals free health insurance. But again, the left, the liberal left, they're so brainwashed by Trump derangement that they don't think anymore, right? They just don't use their brains. These two individuals are having a conversation, and I'm pretty sure they're intelligent, but they're not using their brains. Because if you were using your brain, you would say, okay, well, the reason why Kamala Harris is not doing any interviews is because I keep giving her my vote, right? Just like the liberal media. They come out here and they complain and say, oh, well, why is Kamala not doing any interviews? She should do interviews. But at the same time, they turn around and defend Kamala Harris from Republicans accurately defining her for what she is, which is a communist. So if you're playing defense for Kamala, then why does she need to come out here and defend herself? If you're playing defense for her. The reason why these people reconcile this the way that they do, even though it doesn't make sense, is because, well, they know, all right, well, if we cover for Kamala, even though we know this is not the right thing to do, well, that means that she has a better chance of beating Trump. And the only thing that matters is beating Trump. And again, this is how a real demagogue, this is how a real tyrant comes to power, right? Kamala Harris, and I've said this a lot, but I'm telling you, she's a Trojan horse. They want to keep her mystery for a reason. And this is a very dangerous thing that people are playing with. People got to understand, she was the person that was behind the Biden administration and their whole disinformation board thing, right? You guys remember that stuff? Kamala Harris was behind that. She's a full-blown authoritarian. And if you are a liberal, like truly an actual liberal, I'm not sure how many of those are actually out there anymore, okay? But if you're actually a liberal, then you should be concerned about some of these positions from Kamala Harris. Yeah, I know she's trying to frame herself as more of a centrist, and there's propaganda out there pushing her as a centrist, but she still needs to answer questions to prove that, okay, this is what you actually believe. And why have you now changed your viewpoints from where you were back when you ran for president in 2019? Because the few policy positions that she has articulated have either been stolen from Trump or they're full-blown communism, which to me is a signal that she's not some reformed centrist or moderate. No, she's still a full-blown far leftist, and she's trying to hide it. This is why she doesn't want to do any interviews.
No, it is.
It's a mad dash, and she is running, and she's not stopping to stumble.
And you know what?
And there's nothing wrong with stopping this. I'm going to vote for her anyway, no matter what she says in a stupid interview.
Exactly.
So,
Wow, I'm going to vote for her no matter what she says in the stupid interview. So again, Kamala Harris can come out here and say, oh yeah, I want to implement price controls, right? Which will result in supply chain shortages. People won't be able to buy bread and eggs and food and get the necessities, but I'm going to vote for her anyways. Doesn't matter what she says. They're talking about implementing an unrealized capital gains tax, which for these individuals, I'm sure will hurt quite a bit. Okay, will hurt quite a bit. But I'm going to vote for her anyways, right? Doesn't matter what she says. Wow. Wow, incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. These liberals, man, they're just lacking in their critical thinking.
don't it up.
You're right. I couldn't be more on that page. when I say that she doesn't talk to the press, I'm not even complaining about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that is the Democrats, and that has been their flaw. And there are sometimes when you really do, and in general, they should start doing it more. Talking to people who are not already on their side, they come across as scared. And that is not right. But
agree.
It's too, but it's too,
and frankly though, that's.
But you know,
there's not a world where Pete Buttigieg should be coming across as like this magnificent, wonderful thinker. But one, he is very articulate.
He's great.
All right. No, but he's great because everybody else is so bad.
No, I disagree.
No,
No.
I think in a day, I think in a time of statesmen.
No, I think
I'm not putting him down.
I understand.
I'm putting everybody else down.
I get it. I mean, and everybody else deserves to be put down, but I would give him way more credit than that. I think in any era, he would have stood out. He is super smart, super articulate, never takes the bait. That's the Obama playbook. Never takes the bait, which you have to do. They're all, excuse me, wait.
No, you're 100%. I agree.
They're all trolls out there.
My thing is not about, let me just say this. My thing is not about Pete Buttigieg. My problem is there's not 20 Pete Buttigieg.
Well, that will get used to.
No, but that's not unrealistic to ask for because there was a time that was the case.
I don't think there was ever 20. I think there was Adlai Stevenson, and then he ran against Eisenhower, who was a nice guy. No, I
actually do think that there was a time where you had statesmen. You had 13 to 14 to 15 statesmen who could talk their game because it was all about talking the game.
Yeah, I think.
Am I wrong about that?
I think you're romanticizing the past a little, yes. I mean, there was Lincoln, whose letter I quoted. We see how eloquent he was. And people used to be, because they actually had schooling where they taught kids things. That doesn't happen anymore. So people were generally more literary, and they could speak. But you're going to
just throw that away? That's like throwing away talent from talking about an actor.
I really think the number of people who go into politics who are qualified is so tiny it would scare you. People like Buttigieg is one of them. Obama was one of them. Yeah. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. These are people. Did I agree with everything? No. But did they
But when you say talented, in what way?
I'm just saying that they took the job of politician, of running a government very seriously. It's not just something. I mean, The Rock, I love him, but he thinks he can be president because you have to actually learn things about how government works. It's a job just like any other. Maybe it's more complicated. You can't walk into the Oval Office and on day one be like, what's TPP? Oh, well, that's a giant treaty we've been negotiating for 10 years. You have to know these things going in.
Well, no, you don't. No, you don't, Bill, because people like you and Quentin Tarantino, as long as you're not Trump, you don't even know anything, right? Kamala Harris is one of those politicians that will probably walk into office the first day and say, what is the TPP, right? That is what Kamala Harris is, right? This is why she doesn't want to do any interviews, okay? But yet you guys are lining up and voting for her, but yet you're complaining about the lack of talent on the left. Well, because the left, you don't hold them to any standards, right? There's no standards for Democrats. Democrats aren't expected to do much, right? At least on the right. Listen, there's not anybody that regularly goes on television for the right that says, nah, you shouldn't do that, right? You shouldn't go out there and to push the conservative agenda because I don't feel like you're talented enough, right? I feel like there are a lot of pretty talented individuals on the right. The thing about the right and conservatives is that it's hard because you have to appeal to intelligent people, right? You got to appeal to people who actually think. On the left, you don't have to. All you gotta do is say, I hate Trump, okay? And, hey, I'm woke or whatever, and you're good to go. Individuals like this are gonna vote for you, right? Imagine thinking that Pete Buttigieg is talented. And this is what I told you guys, that is who they think is the most talented person on their side, Pete Buttigieg. In which I've broken down interviews with this guy. He's a con artist, right? He's a straight steak oil salesman. A classic one at that, right? He's not even that good. He's not even that good. He just lies, right? This is what they think talent is. Talent is just lying. To them, right? So Pete Buttigieg is their best liar, so they praise him. But yet, they also admit at the same time that, outside of him, we don't really have any talented individuals, right? And that says a whole lot about the Democrats, okay? It says a whole lot. So they're like, hey, well, We know that they're not doing any interviews because they're scared, but hey, we got to beat Trump, right? So who cares what they believe? Who cares what they say during the interview, right? I mean, this is how a demagogue comes to power, right? This is how that happens. This is exactly how that happens. Satan could run as the Democrat Party nominee and they line up and vote for it because it's not Trump. It really is dangerous stuff, man. And this is why I try to tell you guys, these liberals, people like this, they're the reason why the country is in the direction that's headed, because they know better. They know better, but yet they decide to vote for it anyways because Trump derangement has impaired their ability to think. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.